It was a very dangerous situation, and it's a perplexing situation that is leading us to be demonetized. Every single video we released about Paris has been immediately demonetized. It's been put up for review. Some of them have been approved, but they've been approved after the viewership, and obviously your support, your eyes, your sharing, your viewership means the world to us, especially when we take the high risks that we do. But the bigger story here that a lot of people need to understand is that this is major. This is moderates. This is the far left. This is the far right coming together and saying enough is enough of the corporatism, of the mainstream media, of neoliberalism, of Macron, of globalism, and this is legit. You know why this is legit, Jason? Because there's no major world leader or major media figure that has denounced the brutality that Macron and the police have brought on the French people yesterday. And it wasn't just bringing it in Paris, it's bringing it in France and other places in the world, which of course, Jason, you're going to be talking about in just a little bit. But you have to understand here, the police were out for blood. They showed no remorse with their actions yesterday. Their orders and their plans were actually leaked the night before, and you could feel, you could sense a lot of fear within that police department, within the government official. My Airbnb that I just showed you, the wonderful little space on the 6th floor that I'm at, is a block away from the Interior Minister and their offices here. And they have locked down this entire area for locks with the latest high-tech surveillance and defensive weaponry that they can. We walked outside, and as soon as we walked outside, we had riot cops come up to us right outside of our Airbnb, and they're like, "What are you doing? Where are you going? Where are you going?" Panicking, and it was a ghost town for a huge circumference around it, and they are taking this very seriously because they know that there's a big possibility that the people could actually win here. There were major roadblocks all along the access way to Paris. According to the Ministry of Interior, around 1,400 people were arrested yesterday, and it's good. It's actually amazing. It's actually surprising that no one died. There's actually video footage of police officers telling people, if you want to stay alive, go back home. There's other and just incredible videos of pensioners being thrown to the ground. There's another video right now that's going viral all over France of a handicapped person in a wheelchair being thrown out of the wheelchair at one of these checkpoints where the police were checking people. And this video is outraging people all over Europe, specifically here in France. And what we saw yesterday was the protesters really being at their best, really not trying to cause violence, because it was the police that antagonized, that started the violence, that spread the violence, that made the situation that much worse on the ground. And I could tell you, this is exactly what I saw. This is, again, my opinion. But yesterday was more of a symbolic action, a non-violent action that a lot of these people took because they know that they want to win the hearts and minds. This is why in the video that we just released before this live stream, you see people saying, no, don't attack the police. No, like, we're trying to win the police. Let's get the police on our side. And, you know, some officers, very little of them, showed very little restraint. It was good when they did, but majority of them were very fierce in their attacks. And it was terrifying. You know, there's one police officer I saw running around with a hammer. They were also running around with blackjacks. Those things easily break bones, and the video footage, some of the brutality. I don't want to look at the brutality stuff. I saw some of it yesterday, but I don't want to see it because it's going to prevent me from doing this job, and I don't want to be prevented from doing this. But the main kind of strategy that the yellow vests did yesterday was trying to win the hearts and minds of the people, and right now we saw a very symbolic action today, this Sunday, and we saw a bunch of people get on paddle boards with their yellow vest, and they actually went down the river during the main street here in Paris. Tomorrow, of course, they are going to be doing more strikes, and there's a truck driving union that's striking that was just joined by one of the biggest farming unions. So they are trying to win the hearts and minds, trying to get the majority of the people on their side, and they have a big uphill battle because the mainstream media here has been lying about them. They've mainly been communicating on Facebook, and we have seen the mainstream media. We have seen government officials say we have to look into how dangerous Facebook is because it's actually bringing people together about their grievances. And a couple years ago, the mainstream media, when similar situations were unfolding in the Middle East, but special interests, especially American corporatist globalist interest, had an invested interest in taking over a country. When there was protest because of Facebook there, they cheered those on. They applauded those. Now they're giving out warning signs that this is happening, and it's absolutely ridiculous. We had so many people arrested yesterday, and the propaganda that's out there is absolutely insane. We have Emmanuel Macron, the French president. What is he doing because of all of this? He's actually just meeting with some unions, trying to, of course, appease some people. He, of course, said that he would never respond to violence, even though just a few days ago he called off the tax hike because of the huge situation that was caused here by these protests. And we have to understand here, he flatly said he will not back down and take away the tax cuts for the rich, which he gave people. He's talking about the police being a force of order. The police weren't a force of order yesterday. They were a force of blood on the streets and disorder. He's talking about setting up an investigation to talk about possible Russian collusion in all of this. Like, the French people don't have any legitimate grievances, and it is absolutely ridiculous to see this kind of propaganda. Not and again, I've been seeing this on the front lines here. The energy, the anger, it's palpable. And these people mean business. I mean, they torn down 95% of the speed cameras in their countries and districts. They have demands that are very vast. And of course, you could understand by just looking at some of these demands that they are trying to represent as big of a group as they can. And some of the demands, we could actually go over them. They're talking about banning lobbies. They're talking about smaller banks. They're talking about banning GMO, not having any foreign interventionism. They're talking about Frexit, leaving the European Union. They're talking about a default on the public debt, a new constitution, less immigration. They're talking about tax cuts for the average person, better public services, better pensions, wide range of solutions they're calling to a bigger problem that was created by their government, that was created by austerity, that was created by neocons, and it's pretty much also demanding to leave NATO and to stop the foreign interventions that, of course, France has been involved in. And this is major. This is significant, especially the calls for Frexit, especially with the crowd that they galvanized, and especially with how this is going to unfold, showing people that they want something different. But if I could characterize this movement, it's mainly against Macron and the mainstream media, which I don't see sustaining themselves and their current power structure for a long time. Now, sure, because it's going to get colder, because of the holiday season, these protests may die down in December, but they are going to come back, and they are becoming more and more significant. We saw what happened yesterday. We saw symbolic actions today. We're going to see a strike tomorrow. We're going to see another protest Saturday, and expect things to get extremely interesting. Not only here in Paris, there's strikes all over France. And Jason, just like the moving truck, military tank vehicle that the French police had with the European Union flag on it, it's also moving around all of Europe. Right, Jason?
Dude, it's not stopping. Let's be honest right now. For instance, let's just get into it because the media wants to, again, marginalize this so badly. But like you said, this isn't ending. So it gets to the streets of Brussels, okay? At first, they tried to say 70 people were arrested. Then it was hundreds. Now we've got reports of over 400 people, Luke. that have been arrested in Brussels. This is Reuters. This is Associated Press. They don't want you to know that, again, this has gone way, way beyond what they thought. They didn't think it was going to take off the way it did in Paris. They thought they were going to be able to squelch this thing. And, I remember we were watching videos from earlier in the week, Luke, where they were trying to show that there was solidarity between the police and all the protesters, and that really seemed like a stage event. I'm not saying it couldn't have been a real one and it took place on a small level, but
no. But that event, you have to understand, that event was because police officers kettled in the protesters. The protesters were like, okay, we'll calm down if you calm down. If you let us walk away, we won't start any more trouble. And it was a mutual truce between the protesters and the police. And they said, well, if you're not going to beat us, you're not going to cause more trouble, prove it first, police, by taking off your helmet and letting us walk by. And then the police were like, fine. They took off their helmets and let them walk by peacefully. It was a mutual truce. It was a mutual agreement. But there are other videos where police officers, especially outside of Paris, have been putting on those yellow vests. Those do exist, and those are obviously more likely situations since they are outside of Paris, where the sentiment with this yellow vest is more strong. Sorry, go ahead, Jason.
No, absolutely. And I want to say that because that's a big point that I always try to make here. Now, we just dealt with some issues of police brutality, which actually were out there, but not every... Listen, people are people, and I think that those protesters that are saying, hey, we need to bring the police in, we need to bring the firefighters in, they're 100% right. This is a movement of the people against the oligarchy, and nothing more was represented by that, by the live feed footage in Brussels, Belgium, of people trying to storm the EU. You talked about Frexit. First of all, Brexit was robbed from the British people. But now France is saying, you know what? They had the right idea. We want out of this European Union nightmare too. And let me ask you something. Did you see this on CNN? CNN, the most trusted name in news, did they cover the fact that the European Union Parliament building was stormed by the people? What about Fox News? Didn't see it there either. That's weird. MSNBC, none of these places. So you can watch the videos yourself. This was going on probably mid-afternoon, Luke, while you were going there. And, I mean, France was on fire and people had had enough. Now, yellow vests were spotted throughout Europe. We're talking now Sweden. We're talking the Netherlands, okay, and Germany on top of just Belgium. Okay, now Italy is another story. Italy just had one of their big national holidays. They're rather happy with their leader. You're not going to see this spread there. It doesn't look like it has any hopes of that. They actually like their leader. It's such a stark difference with what's going on in the rest of Europe. And I came across this video, Luke, and I can't help but think it has something to do with the fact that now the Yellow Jackets are indeed spreading to Germany. A guy by the name R.A. the Rugged Man. Well, R.A. does a lot of international touring, and you got to see this video right here of just riot police on another level. I'm going to turn the audio off here, so we might not get a copyright strike, but we're talking parading through the airport like he's never seen outside. It seems like Germany is preparing for an uprising like we've seen in France. I could be wrong, but I got to tell you, folks, this is really, it could get to Spain. For instance, look what's happening in Germany right now. Gizmodo is reporting that people that are working for Amazon, our favorite company under Lord Bezos, the epitome of a Bond villain, are getting ready to strike and protest Amazon right now in Spain and Germany. So again, this catches on in Germany. The German people that are working in Amazon factories would be very much behind this yellow vest movement. I could see this spreading like